Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with some more updates coming out from the Kursk region to share with you. We have lots of reports from the Ukrainians pushing into Kursk and taking more Russian soldiers as prisoner. More of the Russian soldiers continue to surrender to the Ukrainians. We've got lots and lots of video footage showing that. And some of the biggest news here is the Financial Times is reporting that Russia has failed to push back Ukrainian soldiers in the Kursk region, although they are sending lots and lots of reinforcements to Kursk. Apparently it's not working, okay? And the Ukrainians are continuing to push forward. Now, I don't have any updated maps as of today. We had some last night when we put out an update regarding the Belgorod region, and I'll go over that here in just a moment. But as of last night, we don't have any updated maps as far as, how far is Ukraine pushing into the Kursk region. Last we knew, they had something like 540 square kilometers of Russian territory that was captured, and they pushed in as far as like 35 kilometers into Russian territory. So that was the last update I had as of last night. So no updated maps as of today, but lots and lots of video footage coming out from the Kursk region that I want to show to you today. But this video footage right here, what you're watching is apparently Russian soldiers again surrendering to the Ukrainians, and we've got lots and lots of things to show you just like this today. So real quick, let me just jump over here on Financial Times so you can see from mainstream media what they're talking about here. Russian reinforcements failed to push back Ukrainian incursion. Zelensky and troops speak on operation in Kursk region as it enters its sixth day. It says right here, Russia's failed to push back Ukrainian troops in the Kursk region despite sending in reinforcements as the incursion enters its sixth day. Ukrainian soldiers involved in its army's operation told the Financial Times on Sunday. Speaking near the international border, the troops said they remained in Russian territory. Okay, so they have not been pushed out yet. We haven't heard anything like that, but we keep hearing from the Russians. They're stating that they supposedly stopped this incursion, that the Ukrainians are not pushing forward anymore. They obviously haven't said anything about, kicking them out of their territory yet, but this war is continuing on. I reported just last night that we heard of lots of glide bombs being dropped in the Sumy region, just over the border of Kursk, to try to prevent, NATO equipment. This is basically NATO equipment flowing into Russian territory in the Kursk region. So lots of bombings taking place in Sumy. So lots of things that I want to share here with you today. We're going to go ahead and jump over to X now. I've got a bunch of independent sources sharing various things coming out from the Kursk region. We'll talk about Ukraine a little bit as well. There's a few developments happening there also. So let's go ahead and switch gears, get over to X. From Vicegrad24, breaking: Ukrainian fighter jets start flying over the Kursk region of Russia. Okay, so this was big news that came out just this morning. And we've apparently got Ukrainian fighter jets flying over Kursk, supporting their troops. Now, I don't think these are F-16s, because if it was, I think we would be seeing that. We would see the word F-16 there, not just Ukrainian fighter jets. There's a video that's surfacing that I can't completely verify, so I'm not going to share it right now. Maybe it will be verified later. Maybe we'll get a credible source that will share that. But apparently there's like a Ukrainian Su-24 potentially that was flying over the Kursk region, supporting the troops on the ground. So if it is a Ukrainian fighter jet, it would make sense. But F-16s, I don't see them using them in the Kursk region as of yet, but who knows? We may all of a sudden start to see this, because we know that NATO is basically untying the hands of Ukraine right now and letting them flow into Russia in the Kursk region with all of this NATO equipment. Okay, think about all the tanks, all the heavy armor that's going into Russia right now. That's all for the most part NATO equipment, if not all of it is. Okay, so Russia's basically under attack by NATO is kind of how Russia sees this. So this is obviously a big deal. So, we'll see if we see F-16s flying over in the Kursk region. But right now, we've got reports of Ukrainian fighter jets entering Kursk. Okay, so also, let me show this to you as well from current reports. As breaking: many French and Polish soldiers are in the Kursk invasion. The commander of Russia's Akhmat Special Forces says NATO is leading the Ukrainian Armed Forces operation in Kursk direction. This is very, very big news coming out. Lots of people sharing this on X right now, that the commander of Russia's Akhmat Special Forces basically saying that NATO is entering inside of the Kursk region, and many French and Polish soldiers are involved in this invasion, okay? Now, I will say I've seen some pictures surfacing on X. I can't completely verify any of this, but I have seen some pictures of French soldiers, or at least soldiers that appear to be French. They've got French patches on their arms, and that information is indicating that they are inside of Kursk. I also saw a video that I could not verify either that had what appeared to be an American soldier dressed up as a Ukrainian soldier, and when he was speaking, he clearly sounded American, okay, like purely American accent. And, you know, I couldn't completely verify that either, but from what we had from that information, it showed that these troops were also inside of Kursk. So I'm sure this will develop as it continues to develop over time and we get more information. I will report more on this situation in regards to NATO potentially leading this armed invasion into the Kursk region, which could be absolutely huge, okay? And Russia will not be okay with this. And, you know, again, if we're talking F-16s and lots of NATO tanks rolling into Russia, that's obviously grounds for a major response coming from Russia. So we'll see what happens with that. I'll follow this closely. So if you're wondering what the Akhmat Special Forces Unit is, in case you weren't aware of that, they're also known as the Kadyrov. I pulled this up on Wikipedia for you so we can all kind of learn about this. The 141st Special Motorized Regiment, also known as the Kadyrovites, and the Akhmat Special Forces Unit is a paramilitary organization in Chechnya, Russia, that serves as a protection head of the Chechen Republic, okay? So that's what the Akhmat Special Forces Unit, they're also known as the Kadyrovites. If you ever hear people talking about them, that's what this paramilitary organization is known as, okay? So also, moving on to Igor Sushko, Russia, pile of Russian fascists in Kursk region, over 1,000 have now surrendered. So there's this photo surfacing now all over X of Russian troops that have surrendered, and they're all being held captive here in this room. As you can see, their eyes are covered and their arms are tied, and they are probably awaiting to be shipped back to Ukraine so they can hold them there as prisoners of war. So this is a big photo that, like I said, that's coming out right now. And according to Igor Sushko, over 1,000 have surrendered, and we've seen multiples of videos. Definitely hundreds for sure have already surrendered just on the videos that I've shown alone. Every time we put out a video showing this, there's like 30, 40 of them, if not more, a lot of times that are surrendering to the Ukrainian army. So moving on, this is from Vicegrad 24, breaking the Russians controlling the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant have started a fire on its premises. So take a look at this. I don't think there's any sound. Let me see. No, there's basically no sound here, so we'll just go ahead and pause that or mute it. But what we see here is a fire breaking out at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant inside of one of the cooling towers. And what's being reported here from some different sources on X is that the Russians apparently started this fire inside of this cooling tower. And I think Igor Sushko was even saying that these might be tires that were being burnt inside of the tower. And this may be used to stoke panic, and fear in the Zaporizhzhia region, that maybe there will be some sort of nuclear event or explosion over here. Because think about what's happening in the Kursk region right now, is that the Ukrainians are trying to push towards the Kursk nuclear power plant, okay, in Kurchatov. I've been talking about that a lot lately. And if they happen to take that over, that could be absolutely huge for the Ukrainians. And it would probably even make the region of Kursk completely collapse and maybe even affect other regions in the area as well, near the Kursk region, okay? So this is pretty big news. This is still developing. I haven't heard any updates other than this fire breaking out, but last I heard, the nuclear power plant of Zaporizhzhia is still online and it's still operational and is not being affected at this time. So also moving on, Vicegrad 24 breaking, the Ukrainian army has struck and destroyed a Russian convoy of trucks carrying T-80 tanks into the battle zone near Kornovo in the Kursk region of Russia. Another major blow to the Russian forces in the area. So I believe Kornovo is northwest of Sudza, which was one of the first towns that were taken, one of the border towns that Ukraine took control of, that also had that strategic Gazprom facility for liquefied natural gas entering into Ukraine, also eventually will flow into Central European nations. So just take a look at this as well. I don't think we have any sound here, but we can see these T-80 tanks were on these trailers, And I think this is the second video, if I'm not mistaken, where we saw this exact same thing happen, that whenever these Russian troops were trying to bring these tanks over to the Kursk region, they were intercepted and ambushed and completely destroyed. The trucks, the tanks, everything destroyed before they could even make it to the front line inside of Kursk. So again, what we continue to see coming out from Russia is that the Ukrainians are just stomping all over the Russians right now. There's lots of them that are surrendering, and many of their equipment that heads to the battlefield is being destroyed before it could even show up. Now, I will say that the Ukrainians, it's happening to them as well. We've had reports of lots of glide bombs being dropped in Sumy, some unconfirmed reports that lots of heavy armor may have been destroyed in those attacks from the Ukrainians trying to bring their equipment into the Kursk region. And I've also seen some video footage of some more like Striker vehicles that were destroyed, some MRAPs that are trying to head back to Ukraine so they can try to repair them as they were damaged as well. So it is happening to the Ukrainians as well. You know, it's not just the Russians, but we've seen lots and lots of video footage of this coming out. So also take a look at this as well from Jason J. Smart. Loud explosions in Kursk, Russia. The Russian bloggers all saying, how did this happen? Seem to forget that invading a country has consequences, but perhaps they are more surprised that Jake Sullivan is not tying the hands of Kiev. So Jake Sullivan is the National Security Advisor for the United States, and he's come out many times and said that, you know, Ukraine cannot use ATACMS to strike inside of Russian territory, and, you know, he's obviously the main head there that has to give the go-ahead, aside from, you know, President Joe Biden or main big top heads of the Biden administration have to give that approval for that to happen, and then Jake Sullivan would have to announce that. And we haven't seen that. We've seen basically the opposite, where they tie Ukraine's hands behind their backs and they can't fight back, striking inside of Russian territory. So Jason J. Smart is a big supporter of Ukraine, which is why he's talking like that. But take a look at this video footage coming out from the Kursk region. I think this is actually in the city of Kursk, and listen to how close these explosions are. This shows how close the Ukrainians are getting to the major city of Kursk inside the Kursk region. So take a look. All right, so that has to be absolutely frightening. I can't imagine sitting inside my apartment or house and hearing these explosions not too far away. I mean, that shows how close the war zone is approaching the city of Kursk, if that's where this is taking place at. And from this information, I believe it said this was Kursk. Yep, Kursk, Russia. Okay, so the major town inside of the Kursk region, and we can clearly hear those explosions not too far away. Okay, so the city of Kursk is definitely at risk of this war entering into that city. So absolutely huge. Just wanted to share that with you. And although we don't have any updated maps, video footage like this coming out as of yesterday shows how far the Ukrainians are pushing into that area. If we can clearly hear the explosions not too far away from the Kursk city. Okay, also from Vicegrad24, breaking, 80,000 Russians have now left their homes and fled from the advancing Ukrainian army in the Kursk region of Russia. Ukraine launched their invasion of Russia a week ago. Okay, so imagine how much this is affecting Russia, their economy right now. I mean, the Kursk region absolutely being affected by this. Lots of innocent Russian civilians having to flee their homes, get away from the fighting. And we've heard as well that the Russians are also trying to push to speed up the process of evacuating people close to where all the fighting is happening down here. Okay, I think there's a few towns just east of Sudsa over here in this area where the Ukrainians are starting to move east towards Belgorod. And one of these towns, I think it was called Balea, was starting to be evacuated. There was mandatory evacuations, and they were being told to immediately evacuate people as quickly as possible, as there was some information that the Ukrainians were approaching that region very quickly, and they had to get people out as soon as possible. So that was some big news that came out. Also, From Igor Sushko again, Kursk offensive. Ukrainians captured a Russian T-80 BVM version 2022 with a full fuel tank and ammunition near Sudza. So this is video footage that came out from Sudza. It could have been towards the beginning of this operation, but this is video footage that was released today of Ukrainians capturing a Russian tank. So go ahead and take a look at this, a minute and a half.
Давай, давай! Флаг Украины! Флаг Украины! Флаг Украины! Флаг Украины! Давай! Прыгай, Ваня! Прыгай, Ваня! Приехал! Давай! Сейчас за нами! Прыгай, 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 прыгай! Таймер! 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 Гол! Давай! Идем! А? Туда едем, на КПП! Хорошо! Разворот! 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 Давай! Стоп! Давай!
All right, so that's pretty crazy to see that. I mean, these Ukrainians came over here and took this Russian tank, and it looks to be in immaculate condition, and they took it from the Russians, and now it's under Ukrainian control. So this was absolutely huge news when I saw this coming out. So I want to move on here. Also from Igor Sushko, Russia mass surrender by Russian conscripts in Kursk region. Okay, so we've got another picture here. This was also on the thumbnail for you guys. And as we can see, more Russian soldiers starting to surrender in the Kursk region once again. And we continuously see more pictures, more video footage in different areas too. If you notice, not all in the same area. Might be in the Kursk region, but the background's always different. So, you know, there must be at least, what, maybe 15 or 20 of them just right here that have surrendered to the Ukrainian army. All right, so moving on to Bliskovka. Russia was unable to push back Ukrainian troops in the Kursk region despite sending in its reinforcements. This was again from the Financial Times. Since the beginning of the operation, Ukrainian forces have advanced 30 kilometers deep into Russia and captured the city of Sudzha. According to the Ukrainian soldiers, they still have an advantage. This situation raised the morale of the fighters. So this is based on the Financial Times article that I shared with you guys earlier. And according to this information, as of August 11th, this is the latest update that right now the Ukrainian forces are 30 kilometers deep into Russia. That's the same as we've heard yesterday, and it doesn't seem to have changed as of yet. So it looks like maybe the Russians may have stalled out this advance because we haven't heard much advancement of the Ukrainians pushing into Kursk at this time. But we'll see. Maybe in the next 24, 48 hours, we will get more information. Also, again, here from Igor Sushko, Russia, more Russian fascists surrendered to Ukraine in the Kursk region. So we've got another group of Russian soldiers here surrendering, and it looks like the Ukrainians are having them load up into this this MRAP vehicle here. So go ahead and take a look. All right, so there you go. Yep, this looks like another group, maybe what, 10 or 15 of them right here as well, being loaded up into this Max Pro MRAP is what it looks like. And they're being taken captive again by the Ukrainians. So this is just insane, guys, that we're seeing so much of this. I mean, how has Ukraine been so successful at doing this? And you know, for the longest time, it was probably about 4 or 5 days, we heard nothing from the Ukrainian government. This was definitely a very quiet operation, at least in terms of the Ukrainian government speaking about this. And we just had confirmation yesterday that I shared with you guys that Volodymyr Zelensky has finally acknowledged that Ukrainian troops have pushed into the Kursk region. So very, very big, all the information that's coming out here. Finally, one last thing to share with you. Vicegrad24 is reporting Polish donated PT-91 Twardy tanks operated by Ukrainian soldiers have been photographed entering the Kursk region of Russia. Okay, so this came out today, just about an hour ago at the time that I'm recording this for you guys, and look at that. Okay, this is a Polish donated tank that's entering into Kursk region according to Vicegrad24. So again, almost all of the equipment, all the heavy armor that is moving into the Kursk region right now is coming from NATO. Okay, this is all NATO equipment that's flowing in. So it's crazy that for the longest time, NATO was basically saying, no, you can't use, long-range attacks, missiles, ATACMS, whatever, going into Russia. And I know that's the United States mostly saying that. There has been a few countries on the European side of the world saying that it was okay. Some NATO nations saying that, Ukraine could use some of their weaponry to attack inside of Russian territory. But this is mostly like long-range missiles that we've been talking about. But when it comes to heavy armor, things like that, tanks rolling into Russia, it seems to be perfectly okay, and nobody seems to have a problem with this. And this is multiple countries. We know for sure Germany and also Poland now allowing their heavy equipment to start rolling into Russian territory and destroying their troops. So this is very, very crazy news. And, I really wonder what the response will be from Vladimir Putin at some point. I think they will stick conventional for a while, but what happens when Russia really starts to collapse from this, and maybe this invasion into the Kursk region really starts to spread? Let's just speak, kind of hypothetically for a moment, and let's say this invasion really spreads and they start taking over massive amounts of Russian territory. What will Russia do at that point if they realize that all conventional means are not working? I mean, do you think that this would ever turn nuclear? I mean, there's already tons of red lines that have been crossed here just with NATO equipment rolling into Russian territory. I mean, if it's Ukraine invading, it's one thing. But the fact that we're hearing that NATO troops could be inside of Russia now, and then all NATO equipment, I mean, this is technically NATO moving into Russian territory, if this is all true, on top of Ukraine moving into the Kursk region as well. So just something to think about that I wanted to kind of plant in your guys' brains, and let's have a discussion down in the comment section. Let me know what you think about all that. Share your thoughts, concerns, and opinions down in the comment section. But that's going to be it for this update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. With that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.